The spring that we're going to be looking at today is the one in here. This is the pivot. If this was on the machine and you push down on that, it's the one that keeps that sturdy. Then you release it by just pushing back on that. It's one of those parts of a bobbin winder that I recommend you do not take off unless you absolutely have to, because putting it back on can be more than a little bit of a pain in the seating area. I'm going to show you how to take it apart and put it back together, because it is something that is useful to know, but like I say, not something that you want to be doing very often. Pay attention to what the bobbin winder looks like before you take it to pieces, and you'll notice if I turn it the other way round for a moment, you see that? That is the spring, and note that it needs to be on the right hand side of this bracket when you get it all back together, and it does need to stick out like that. Okay, and before we start, this bit, this little bobbin latch is in the way, so we are going to need to take that off first. Be careful when you take this bit off, because there is a spring behind this screw and it does have a tendency to go. The next thing to do is undo this screw right here. Again, be careful because there's a spring. There it is. Okay, when you're happy that you've got all your bits as clean as you're going to get them, it's time to put it all back together again. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the bracket back on. There's two little screws, there's this one and there's this one, and they're easy to tell apart because this one doesn't have just a normal thread to the screw. There's like a solid bit right at the top. That belongs to that bit. This is the one we want, and we're just going to stick it in here for now, just to act as missing the hole, just to act as a stabiliser. The next thing that we want to do is we want to reattach this bit like that. This is a particularly fiddly spring. There's like a little hole in the frame. You can see it's just there, just above my finger. See it? The little spike on the spring needs to go in that hole, and it kind of wants to sit sort of like that. Once you've got it seated properly inside there, what you want to do is you want to bend this so it sits in this little groove, and yes, you're going to feel like you're breaking it, but that's what it does. So there you go, and it just slides further into that housing. I've taken the bobbin wheel off just to give me a little bit of extra space. And the next thing we want to do is we want to line this bracket up with a hole in the frame, and then get this back in there. This sticking out bit of spring needs to be on the right side of this bracket, like that. And then we just need to get this back in. This is the part where you're going to wish it's something that you hadn't started, because it can be fiddly. That spring can pop out and you might end up having to do this more than once to get it back together, which is why I recommend you only do this if you have to and if you've got plenty of time to spare. When you've got it back on, it should look like that. And to just double check it's in the right spot, you should have a bit of a spring on that. This is the adjustment for the bobbin, so if you find that's either too loose or too tight when you get it on your machine, you can undo this screw and reset it so that it'll work properly for you while it's on the machine. I'm just going to keep it in one spot for a minute. There you go. The next thing that we need to put back on is the bobbin latch. Okay, and again we need to put the spring in. I'm going to pop, if I can find it, the little sticky out bit in the hole. I'll just hold that. There's 2 holes in the frame. Depending on how springy you want it to be, just pick one of your holes. I'm going to go for that one, I think. Right, where's my screw? There you are. Pop the screw in. I'm going to just do it up enough to hold it and stop that spring coming back out. And then what we want to do is we want to get this up and over there so that it sits on, there's like a little notchy bit right there. Tighten it up so it doesn't move out of place. Oh, and then what we're going to do is we're going to test it. Okay, it's engaged, and that's a little tight, I think. Oh, I don't know, it might be alright. Yeah, it's fine. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and why not consider subscribing to the channel and checking out some of the other videos by using these links coming up on the screen any minute now, or the ones I'll pop in the description box for you. Thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.